Sounds like it is straight from the motherfucking cassette.
I hate when you get to a point in your career where people feel like they got you figured out and there's no more surprises. I like people to press play on my stuff and still be surprised.
Turn it up, baby. No introduction necessary, yo. Hey, yo. Okay. Hey, yo. Son. You know what I mean?
4, 3, 2, 1.
Boys, going on today, Dustin with 2 T's back here once again. Welcome back to the Dusttin Bowerman Show with my boys Max and Anthony on this Manic Monday, January 18th, 2021. It's week 3 of the Dusttin Bowerman Show. I don't know how we made it this far. It's been questionable. We've had some rough patches so far, I'm not going to lie. But listen, we've improved. We've gotten better. We've heard your criticism, okay? And we've done nothing about them. So fuck you. I don't want to apologize to absolutely nobody because we're on week 3, okay, boys, of this show, of this fantastic show with the crew here today. Anthony and Max are here. We're going to talk about some other things, talk about a couple things that happened over the course of the weekend, some past history with Joe Rogan. We'll go over that, but let me run you down real quick what's happening today. LCS happened over the weekend. We're going to talk about that. Rainbow Six Siege Invitational is having a LAN in Paris instead of Montreal. What's going on there? Gaming is the new hip-hop, according to the Esports Observer. We'll talk about that just a little bit. C9 has released Woxic after spending millions of dollars on this fucking roster in Counter-Strike. They released their coach, Hassan and Woxic, which is crazy in itself. And then Joe Rogan has said something about gamers back in 2018. We'll talk about that too. And Ryujihung is being deplatformed. What's going on there? Max and Anthony, how you guys doing today, boys, on this Manic Monday? Listen, we're not as crazy today, but how are you guys doing today?
How are you gonna do a Manic Monday without shocking yourself or hurting yourself in some way?
I have warheads. I have here, let me show you. I have this big thing of this whole thing of warheads. Look at this. This is a huge thing of warheads. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I mean, I have 5 different. Should we just do this today?
You want me to get started?
You want me to eat all these warheads in one? Oh my god, maybe that is a good. How am I supposed to speak though if I have these in my mouth? What do you want me to do?
Warheads aren't that bad.
Yeah.
I know. I'm saying if you wanted me to eat all of these warheads
stick them in the side of your mouth.
No, that would piss some people off. That would piss so many people off, Anthony. Imagine you just hear the whole show. That would be so bad. Nobody would want to watch us if we did that, Anthony. I wouldn't want to watch us. I'll tell you for fucking sure.
I would want to watch that.
Yeah, you would want to watch that, but nobody. You just have this disgusting ASMR of slobber in somebody's mouth, just fucking going across. It just
people pay for that.
Yeah, people pay for Pokemon to do that shit. They wouldn't pay for fucking me to do that, dude. That's just disgusting. It's just this fucking ape just sucking on goddamn warheads. That seems like a terrible decision. Guys, LCS happened over this past weekend. Myself and Anthony watched it a little bit. We can run it down. We played some ARAM. We watched some League of Legends this weekend. We can get better. I'm basically the level of a silver player in League of Legends right now. I'm not going to lie. I think Anthony's highest rank was what? Did you get to plat at all, Anthony?
I mean,
plat,
yeah, right? I was plat, but plat's nothing.
I mean, plat is nothing. But plat is better than where I've been. I've been silver to gold, like generally in League of Legends. It's just not exactly ideal. But we're coming back. We're getting good. Okay, I'm on the grind. I increase my sense. I'm gonna go pro in every game I can at this point. I'm gonna go as far as I can in like the highest rank. That's the new goal of my life. But LCS matches did happen over the weekend, guys. We can go run it down of what exactly happened with the results. So in Group A, 100 Thieves has a 2-1 record. Now they lost the game over the weekend. Golden Guardians are 1-2. TSM are 2-1. Team Liquid are 2-1. CLG is 1-3. Although beating 100 Thieves is pretty crazy. Group B, EG is 3-0. The best team in LCS, which is kind of surprising. People were incredibly surprised, actually. From all of the power rankings that I have seen, EG was not supposed to be number 1 right now. Cloud9 is 2-1 as well. Perks is looking solid. IMT is 1-2. Dignitas is 1-2. And FlyQuest are 0-2 over the weekend. And I don't think people expected even FlyQuest to be that low, 0-2 over the weekend. Listen, everybody's overreacting right now. It's been one weekend. It's been 1 week. Let's calm down a little bit, okay? People are already calling for their heads. I know in the Twitch chat, whenever games are live, whenever I'm seeing people talk about games, they're always flipping out. Like, they're always flipping out. Twitch chat is incredibly insane 24/7. It's always NA lol, NA this, and I understand what's the point. Like, I feel like half the viewers in LCS, in NA LCS are Europeans and Koreans and etc. basically, just there to shit on NA. Like, it feels like the entire purpose of people watching some things are just to be toxic assholes and just to complain. And it feels like that's the common denominator in society, is that nowadays people are going to show up into these chats just to be upset. They want to be upset. That's the whole reason they're coming in. Are people bored? Are people fucking bored right now, Anthony Max? That the reason that they're coming into these chats is to literally just be upset? Like, it feels like that's the common thing in society these days, where people just want to watch things to be pissed off.
I've got
Am I
nothing.
wrong?
This is just how people are sometimes, man.
It's kind of fun, like you said before, to just get pissed off. You have no repercussions on the internet, and you get to see, I don't know, you maybe if the player sees it, you might even affect the game.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that you're talking about me. You're trying to call me out there, Max, from when I used to at halftime check my phones between games. Oh, that was terrible.
If that's true, then maybe you could shift things in a different way.
People are not as dumb as me, okay? That's just a me kind of thing. People are not as dumb as me, okay? We've already gone over this before. I think I'm on another level in terms of my stupidity, whereas I think everybody else is a little bit lower. But people are definitely still impacted, I think, mentally in the long term for sure. I mean, I think you have a point, Max. I mean, it's definitely a thing that people are not cognizant of, I guess. Like, a lot of players are just like, oh, I'm just going to browse Reddit. You know, I'm not impacted by this. But it's like, they probably are. I mean, your mental is not entirely figured out even by you. So the fact when you're browsing something and it could be giving you anxiety or something like that, you don't even realize it. You know what I'm saying? Like, these kind of things, these mental things that go into playing pro, a lot of pros don't actually understand it. A lot of pros actually don't comprehend exactly everything that goes down into playing professional, and they kind of don't get impacted by it, in which actually there are new rookies in LCS that are apparently also talking a lot of shit. Like, they're talking massive amounts of shit, new rookies in the LCS, and people are upset. Like, I can tell already.
Man.
I mean, that's what we want. You're right, but at the same time, I think there was an interview with one of TSM's players where he's like telling the rookies to shut the fuck up. He basically said, he was like, "Stop talking shit. You're a rookie. You're new. You don't know shit." And then they're like already coming in swinging, talking shit like these fucking assholes. And they're not like, I think he's talking about the trailer that we talked about, if you guys remember, in the LCS trailer, where we were like, this is kind of cringy because of the fact that these rookies were literally talking shit out of their ass, because I guess they were trying to figure out something for Doublelift and Bjergsen because they left the league, and there's like a kind of a hole to fill for that regard. But like, you don't have to force it, man. Like, these storylines don't have to be forced. There's a reason that Bjergsen and Doublelift became the players that they became, is because they were offered so much freedom to kind of become themselves and do their own thing, where now the directors and producers in the LCS are basically telling these rookies like, hey, you gonna talk shit, you gotta say something about kicking people's ass, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a little bit it's weird, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to force these kind of things, right? It feels like they kind of force it, Max. It's just not really something that you have to do in order to become a top face, is to force these things, these storylines. You can endorse it, right? But that's maybe about it.
I mean, what did they do when you were talking shit?
They just told me to keep doing it. That's pretty much what they did. They were like, that whenever I used to talk shit, and like whenever I call crews a feeder and stuff like that, I would go behind the scenes and I would like, before matches, like the talent would just high five me. They're like, hey, keep talking shit. Hey, you keep doing you, man. And they kept edging me on to keep talking shit behind the scenes. It was like, I guess it's not necessarily a good thing for me, but hey, listen, they kept telling me to talk shit and I kept doing it. So
yeah,
I mean, it was kind of
it's like in a reality TV show where, you know, these people are probably good people, but they egg them on anyway to have drama. I wonder if it's like that, where they're just like, you're the new guy. You're not going to do shit in the scene for now, so just talk shit.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is like that, I guess, to some degree. I imagine people behind the scene. I guess it's like that situation where dumb people like Jake Paul and whatever, like when they were posting their Vines for the very first time, they were like supposedly like, they were like just being complete assholes. But it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that bad just yet. And then people watch their Vines, people watch their videos, gives them some feedback like, oh, we like this kind of shit, Jake Paul, keep it up. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to amp it up. I'm going to go crazier and crazier and crazy. And then it keeps going on and on and on because he keeps getting good feedback back that he doesn't realize that he's impacting whenever he goes into a school cafeteria and yells fucking some bullshit. He like ruins everybody's day there pretty much. But he's like, as long as I'm getting the internet likes or whatever, as long as I'm getting fame here, fuck it, right? I mean, might as well just keep being a douche. And at the same time, that's kind of the situation for me, I guess, to some degree. But listen, I'm stupid. Okay, this is entirely my fault. I 100% understand, 100% agree. And listen, I mean, what I've done in the past is what I've done in the past, and what I've done now is also what I've done now, especially with the Overwatch feedback as well. But these players are absolutely in the wrong position. I think that some of these players that are talking trash should not be talking trash. A lot of the LCS players, the new rookies that come in the league are not exactly good. They're not exactly great players either.
You know who it is?
So they're kind of put in a situation.
Like, which team is it? Is it like the TSM people?
No. So some of the veterans basically of the league have talked about some of these players, and some of these rookies are kind of all across the league. He's not talking about like, okay, that video was just like a couple new rookies and stuff like that, but they looked like they were kind of like reserved or whatever. I think he's talking about like in game and in text chat and stuff like that, and all chat, and then behind the scenes and stuff like that. They're talking trash in scrims or whatever. Like there's a lot of behind the scenes that I guess is with overly cocky rookies almost that think they can come in and fill Doublelift's shoes or whatever, Bjorksen's shoes, and kind of just be that guy. But for the most part, they haven't been really. I mean, for the most part, they haven't been those guys to really kind of pop off on the main stage for sure, or even behind the scenes, which is kind of interesting just because of the fact that, like we said, we talked about people talking trash. We talked about doing this, but you don't need to force it. Okay, the directors don't need to force this kind of thing. I mean, there's no reason that directors need to be telling these players to just say these things in interviews and stuff like that. There's really no point to kind of do this. And in order to be the best player you want to be, in order to be the best player that you can be, you got to be focusing on the game 100%, 110% even. You got to be putting in more hours than everybody else. You got to be not focusing on the trash talk, the mental aspect of the game, because of that fact that's going to hold you down. I mean, look at me. Look at my career. It held me down, to be honest with you. Like, I got overly confident. I got overly cocky. I got kind of, in a way, I was my own, negative. At the beginning, I think my first interview, we played against Jonak. I think we played against NYXL or one of the teams in the beginning. And then I think she asked me, like, I don't remember her name, Mika, I think, asked me a question. She was like, oh, where do you think you place in the top Zens? I was like, you know what? I think I'm all right. I'm still improving. And I was like a little reserved kid, you know what I'm saying? Just like sitting there talking the other people up. I was like, oh, Jonak's so good, yada, yada, yada. And then like the very next thing, it's just like me talking shit about Cruz, and then it kind of snowballed from there. It's like you can't really let these people kind of impact who you are, and you also shouldn't let yourself get in the way of where you can potentially be, because you can only be as good as you are. You know what I'm saying? If that makes, you can only be the best person you can be. And a lot in social media these days, in the environment these days in pro gaming, like, it's easy to compare yourself to other people. I mean, it's just how it is. It's super easy to compare yourself to Jonak. It's super easy for some of the rookies in the LCS to be like, oh, I'm faker. It's super easy to compare yourself to that level, and the expectations are so high to be at that level that it's not really worth it. You can kind of only be the best person you can be, and that should be the main takeaway that a lot of these rookies kind of have. I mean, a lot of them have done good over this weekend. I mean, EG has done really well, somehow a top team defying all expectations. People were kind of surprised, but I think in reflection, in hindsight, people should have seen this team as doing good. They have Sven Skaren, they have Impact, they have some top talented players. that are already very, very good, and people are kind of underestimating how good this team could have been before the league even started, before LCS even started, and people are kind of looking back in hindsight like, oh yeah, I knew EG was this good of a team, which, no, you didn't know that EG was that good of a team. I didn't know EG was that good of a team. Everybody expected TSM, 100 Thieves to be the top team in the league, and then at the same time, Cloud9 the top teams in the league, and they still are. They're still really good, but at the same time, you shouldn't have expected that. TSM is still has still done pretty good. Golden Guardians, not really great because of team play and stuff like that. Having a couple collegiate players, I was a big fan of them. I think I'm a big GGS fan just because of the fact that from what I've seen them do, from what I've seen them have in close games and stuff like that. I'm surprised that they're not doing too good. I mean, I would like to see GGS do too good because they're like kind of a big underdog for me so far. But I mean, Perks has looked good on Cloud9. He kind of lived up to expectations so far, and so far this LCS is kind of shaping up to be one of the spiciest leagues so far, just because of the fact that I think, like we said, they're not really forcing. Besides the directors, besides behind the scenes, there's a lot of players talking shit behind the scenes, a lot of rookies talking shit. Like we said, it's kind of shaping up to be one of the spiciest LCSs of all time, LCS regular seasons of all time, just because of the fact there's a lot of new blood in the league, there's a lot of new things happening, and it kind of keeps it refreshing. Like, you don't want to see the same players over and over again, right, guys? There's no way you want to see these people, like these old-ass 26, 27-year-olds for esports standards, just continually be in the league just because of name recognition and whatever. It kind of gets dry, right? Kind of gets stale. You want to see some new players and new rookies, right?
I could see Faker all the time, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, I don't see the problem with it. Is you don't have to learn new people, and those people get even more popular. It's fun to watch. The old TSM team.
Yeah, but like at the same time, you like these new rookies and kind of bring a new level of like love and new like level of fire almost, a new level of passion. And I think that's kind of gonna, at least it's the future of LCS, right? I mean, it's the future of where they go in the LCS is how good these rookies do for one at the international level, and then for two, how well they do in terms of their personality, how interesting are they and stuff like that, and how many of them can actually become stars. You know what I'm saying? How many of them can become stars? But to the next point, boys, okay? We're going to move on to a LAN event here. They're talking about something in the future that has to do with Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege Invitational is hosting a LAN in Paris, so they're moving it from Montreal, which is kind of interesting because it's been hosted in Montreal for this whole time, and now they're moving to Paris. They're going to have to travel over here having a LAN event, having no crowd, though, so there's not going to be a crowd in this situation. But do you think it's a smart idea to really host a LAN event in this pandemic right now? Do you think it's a good idea? I mean, Worlds has done it before, where League of Legends did it with Worlds. They had their LAN event in Korea, which went fine, I suppose. And then they also have had other LAN events. There's been other LAN events, in the past as well. But this is one of the first ones of the COVID-19 era, almost this pandemic era, in Paris, France. I don't know how good of an idea this is. I mean, I've had my own issues with France, guys, but do you think they should be hosting a LAN? I mean, we haven't even met in person, bro. Do you think they should be hosting a LAN event for these pro players? Is that a good idea?
So is this like an international event where people have to, like, from all over the world come in and...
Yes, yeah. So they're coming to Paris. They're flying to Paris, and it's all the teams basically involved in Rainbow Six Siege, with even potentially, Samantha said, even a potentially $3 million prize pool because of the battle pass and stuff like that. So there's a lot of money in the line too. So it's like you can't just not show up, right? It's like the Worlds basically. It's the top event of Rainbow Six Siege. But I don't know, man. I think that the fact that you're hosting a LAN event for this is kind of a good idea, I guess. Like, you're bringing international competition. And listen, the player's always going to love it. The player's always going to think it's a good idea. But listen, everybody thinks everything's a good idea until shit hits the fucking fan. You know what I'm saying? Until shit hits the goddamn fan. Until they show up in the fucking goddamn in Paris and they're like, oh, I got COVID-19 or whatever. I just showed up at the LAN event. Boom. Everybody's hit. Everybody's impacted with this. You know, it's not like it's just like a one person gets sick scenario and they're benched or whatever. They're sidelined. It's like, no, you show up, you get COVID-19, you fuck over your entire team. You're disqualified from the event, basically. Because they said basically you need to have a negative test within 72 hours of the first event, if that makes sense, of the first match. Which kind of makes sense, I suppose. I mean, that kind of is keeping a good term, a good regulation, within this regard. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if it's that good of an idea to even be hosting a LAN event in this day and age, right, Anthony?
I mean, I sure hope it's going to happen. I don't like
You think somebody's going to get hit?
Almost certainly. I mean, it's like, what are they doing to keep them from going out and about while they're, not in game, not in tournament?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because from what the overall wordage was, is they said basically like it's recommended you quarantine. It's recommended that you quarantine. They're not saying you have to do it. They're like, yeah, it's recommended you quarantine.
What's going to happen when they get there? Do they bring their computers to their hotel or something, or do they have like a LAN PC cafe thing?
Mean, it's tough because it's the people in Paris have an advantage, right? If there's any French players, they have an advantage, correct?
Like, what are they even gonna do? Are they just gonna sleep there? And where's the practice facility?
The thing is, I think that if you're quarantining in your apartment or whatever, or you're in a hotel or whatever, you kind of can only play, at least what Shock did whenever they traveled to Korea, is that they've had like laptops pretty much. They played with laptops in their hotels and stuff like that with like 60 FPS. I think Funny Astro did that. I think somebody like Moth or whatever brought their own computers and brought their own systems. But for the most part, I think people are going to be either practicing on their laptops or just not at all until quarantine is done. And then, then they go on to play the event. It does make it harder. Like this international travel and stuff like that does make it harder. The fact you have to quarantine and stuff like that does make it harder, and it allows the French players to kind of just play from the comfort of their home. They already have their setup. They don't have to leave. They can quarantine from their home, right? So they don't really need to go out and do what these other players coming into the event have to do and stay in hotels and stuff like that. It seems like that there's an advantage. There's an inherent advantage to the Paris players in general that kind of give them an edge over everybody else, and that's just kind of how esports work. That's how the event works. If you host an international event, I'm sorry, that's just what has to happen. And it's recommended that you quarantine. That in itself is kind of a little bit of a weird statement for this event. It's like, oh, you don't have to, but at the same time, it's like if you have a positive test, basically, if you're caught with COVID, if you're caught with your pants down with COVID up your ass, you're basically kicked out of the event. You're basically DQ'd, which kind of I guess puts all the blame on you. It's not really on the dev, which is kind of an interesting, different look, right? Than other leagues have done, where they're just like, okay, we're in a bubble. It's like, no, you're in your own bubble. You have to figure shit out before you come to our event, right? It's a little bit different. But I hope that this event does well, to be honest with you. I think that we've talked about this before the stream. They're having Twitch drops, basically. They're having Twitch drops in Rainbow Six Siege in this Invitational. And I think myself and Anthony and Max have also talked about this before. Is like, are people going in for Twitch drops really live viewers? Do they not just count as bots? Do they count as live viewers when they come into the stream and they just watch these events with the sound basically muted? Do they count as actual viewers, guys? I don't really know if they count as real people. I mean, they're basically just watching the event, or they're not even watching the event. They just have it tabbed out so they get Twitch drops, right?
Yeah, that's what I did when Valorant was coming out, and you had to be in the stream to get it. And I was like, put the stream to 1%, do something else, literally anything else. Leave it open overnight. It's like, I have no idea. Maybe I'll get this Valorant drop eventually, but I never actually watched anything.
Are they any better than Chinese bots? You know what I'm saying? What's the difference between a Twitch drop viewer and a bot? I can't really tell, to be honest. I mean, they probably play at the similar skill level in ranked, right? Or in the competitive system. They're probably as good as bots anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're pretty trash tier players overall. So why even bother counting them as real people, as real humans? You know what I'm saying? They might as well be a number. You know what I'm saying? Just like everybody else in the Twitch chat. I don't think it's really a good idea. Wait, what'd you say, Max?
I mean, this might even be worse because if the Valorant is just a Twitch drop to be able to play the game, so probably
it's not charms or whatever.
Yeah, like these aren't like collectibles in the game that probably bots would have even more use for than just like a game key.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess you could like sell game keys, right? Like if you got a, I guess you
could, but it was so easy with Valorant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit different too.
It's not too different. I know people who sold their Valorant keys.
Did they?
Oh my god!
Why?
You want to out them? You want to out them right now,
No,
Anthony?
I'm not
Out them right now. Out, get them banned by a riot right now. Who were they? Who was it?
The account got banned.
Was it Derek?
He already got messaged for it.
Somebody got banned.
For how much money?
How much did he sell his Valorant key for?
He sold the key for $20.
$20?
Yeah,
he got banned for $20.
It could have had the stream in the background.
Not his main account. That account got banned.
Oh, okay. So it's not like
It's
the IP
not even a
ban
problem
or
to
anything.
him.
So he just made $20 off of some fucking poor dude. And then
Yes.
the guy got his account banned.
Yes.
I mean, I guess he knew the risk, right? He knew the risk before he even did it, I guess.
I mean,
That's kind of weird, bro.
yeah. I mean, he had no risks. It was only the other person. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean that it is a little bit. It's a little bit of a shady business. Okay, it's a little bit of a shady business being a Twitch drop viewer that's trying to sell your key. Listen, I've never done that before in my life. Never would, never will. But I did get my old Riot account inactively removed, which is kind of shitty because I had like thousands of dollars of skins. Just because I haven't played since 2012, you're gonna remove my account, Riot? Fucks with that, dude. But that's Rainbow Six Siege, boys. I mean, that's kind of interesting that they're hosting an event. There's not gonna be a live audience, so I guess it's not like that big of a deal. It's not like the NFL where they have to test an audience or whatever every time they come in. But it seems like overall, this doesn't seem like it's that bad of an idea, I suppose. Like, the more we talk about it, the better. The more and more I'm okay with it. They're kind of putting it all on the players to kind of figure it out, And that's like, I guess that's ideal, I mean, that's like ideal. But to move
Can
on.
we really trust
what'd you say,
those
Max?
players? Can we really trust those players?
I mean,
If any of them
we
were
don't
like
trust
Dustin,
them,
I don't think so.
what? What do you mean? Why can't you trust me, dude? Why can't you trust me, Anthony?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't know. I need you to explain. Why can't you trust me, Anthony? Why can't you trust me here, bud? Why can't you trust me, Anthony? Careful what you say. Careful what you say, Anthony.
What do you think, Max? Can you trust Dustin on this?
Oh, of
Can
course
you trust
not.
me, Max?
Why would you ever trust
trust-
Dustin with COVID?
This man
What do
drives
you
up to
mean?
like a whole nother state for a Tinder date.
What
know
the
if I could
fuck,
trust him.
dude?
Oh, he's getting
What
called
do you
out.
mean? This is old news. This is fucking old news, bro. Okay, come on now. You can't just
Old
call me out
news.
like this,
This
Anthony.
was like a few months ago.
No. This is old news. Fuck you, bro. Absolutely unbelievable, Max. And it wasn't even a Tinder date, okay? It was one of my friends, okay? Fuck you. God damn it, Anthony. Call me out like this, dude. Piece of
Or was it a
shit.
date?
Piece of shit. Guys, gaming is apparently, according to Esports Observer, to move on so I don't feel embarrassed anymore. It's apparently the new hip-hop, okay? This is kind of interesting news. This is kind of a weird predicament just because of the fact that it's kind of a clickbait article. Like, let's be real. We went over this article. It's a little bit clickbaity. They pretty much titled the whole article, From Poverty to Prosperity, How Gaming is the New Hip-Hop. I mean, can you get any more clickbaity than that? I don't even think my YouTube titles can get more clickbaity than that, guys. That's pretty fucking clickbaity. That's pretty goddamn clickbaity. I mean, the fact that Anthony, what did they say? That you said this article was like kind of like hot take scenario. Like the whole article was basically hot takes, right?
I mean, it was a just singular one giant hot take saying that if you, or just saying that you could go pro in gaming. Just like it said to get people out of the hood, like literally from the thing we read. It said out of the hood, and I'm like, okay,
They
I don't think
basically
that's
said
how
to get
that
out of the
works.
hood, go pro in Call of Duty is what they basically
Yeah,
said.
it's
right?
like that's not going to happen. It's like it's just as hard in music. It's like they said it's like how people got out of the hood from hip hop, and I'm like, how many really did those? Like, you shouldn't be saying stop doing what you're doing to go pro in gaming. It's like it doesn't work that way.
No, I mean, you got to commit a lot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you do it as like a hobby. Like, you can't really just do one or the other and just be like, oh, I'm going to go pro in COD now and just like kind of drop everything and then pretty much die of starvation. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably what would happen to you if you try to go pro and if you're from like a poorer area. Is this just going to kind of send you down even further in a drain? Where we talked about this, like buying a console in itself is like a couple $100s, right? It's like $400, $500, $600 now to buy a good console to be able to compete at the highest level. And then on top of that, where you have like music and going, and going into hip hop or whatever, like all you need is just a pencil and piece of paper, right? Like that's all you really need. We talked about this before the show. That's all you need to really make a name for yourself in the music industry. It's just I guess eventually you need like a recording setup, which kind of makes sense. Like you can't just be like, hey, I wrote down this song. Come give me money. It's not like really that scenario. It's a little bit different. But at the same time, like, they're not comparable. I think music and gaming are kind of two different things. I think we talked about this before, though, is that I think it was either Jake or it was Dr. Hugh. They pretty much said like how gaming is pretty similar music, I guess. Like, to that degree, it's kind of interesting because of the fact that people think that music is like gaming. And the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, is there similarities between it? Is there similarities between music and musicians and gaming? And I think that just comes down to really just talent level, work ethic, and stuff like that. That's really the only things that transfer over. And I think that's something that you can kind of take away from life as a whole, is just having good work ethic is pretty much a good idea for the most part. But at the same time, like, I mean, not just a good idea. It's like, you can't just be like, oh, I want to have good work ethic one of these days. I'm going to work harder. It's like, no, you pretty much have to be one of those people that are driven, one of these passionate, fiery people that kind of just keep going and going and going. And that's really the only transferable skill that I think will make you successful across platforms, from gaming, from music. You know what I'm saying? There's kind of similarities, but not really. Okay, listen, anybody can write down on a piece of paper their fucking song. Not everybody can buy the brand new Xbox fucking 9000 to play Call of Duty at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? There's a bit of a difference. Okay, there's a bit of a difference, esports observer.
Like, I remember one time you were talking to me about how like the motivations for esports players and Korean players are different. How like they like they're in there for the money, and like they'll do like whatever they can to be the top of the league, just so that they can, I don't know, you get out of their situation back home, and they're in this for the money, not like the enjoyment of it. And I can see like some parallels of that, of how like you can out of like if you're in, I guess, quote unquote, the hood, and you use like music to get out of it, and you're grinding your way through that. I can see some parallels from like what you said, the Koreans that got out of their situation just for money.
Yeah, here's a hot take, Max. So are you saying that we should put LAN cafes in every single ghetto in America? Okay, or is that what you're saying that we should do? We should be putting...
I mean, that they should be not just in the ghettos of America. I would like one here.
Okay, so you're saying we need more LANs and more like LAN cafes pretty much across America, you know, regardless of income or wealth or whatever, so that everybody's on an equal playing field, basically.
They had one near here, but it shut down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're just shitty, though.
Yeah,
the thing is, they're just shitty.
They could have been better. It could have been way better. Like, I remember I went there for one of our friends' birthdays, and it was just really a whole $1. I think it was like $3 for a cup of ramen. I was just like, what?
Yeah, they overpriced their shit.
I didn't pay for
I
it
went to one.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, you keep talking.
I didn't pay for any of it because our friend's mom did, but it was really not a lot of stuff there in terms of like the setup space was small for each like computer spot.
Yeah,
which I mean I guess is kind of fair, but computers really weren't that good. I don't know how good they are in like Korea or Japan, but they're not good here.
In a lot of them. Yeah, they're not. No,
well, remember, like in LA, that one time we went, they had some pretty impressive ones in the Korean town areas.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that you have a chance to go to a shitty one, because I think, were you guys there when we tried to go to a LAN? I think we went. No, this wasn't you guys, I guess. So we went in LA with my team. We tried to go to a LAN, or we went to one before where you basically were using a LAN cafe for like practice and stuff like that. We went to a LAN cafe for one day, okay, and it wasn't too good. It was like a crappy LAN or whatever. Like they had shitty computers, like monitors, everything. We leave. We try to come back the next day, and the fucking window's broken, like shattered. There's like boards up pretty much everywhere. There's like everything's like totally crashed and ruined on the inside of the place. And we're like, nope, we're getting the fuck out of here. So it's like, I guess this is why people don't make LAN places, because basically, from the outsider's perspective, if anybody wanted to break in, they're like, oh my god, look at these $1,000 computers over there in the back. You know what I'm saying? This is just free fucking money. If you just break into it and steal it, if it's in a poor area, you know what I'm saying? Then there's like the chance that your whole operation is ruined, when you could just be some shitty fucking like McDonald's where nobody wants to rob you because it's a McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? It's like that kind of scenario maybe, where people are just kind of like, what's the point in opening a LAN cafe in America if they're just going to get shit on, or if the qualities aren't even that good. Like the level of quality in Korea, like you mentioned, Manx, the level of quality of these computers and these LAN cafes in Korea is like 10 times higher, because it's just like the quality of shit is just so, like, there's no competition, like you said, there's no competition here. So why would you even bother putting as expensive computers, expensive monitors, whatever, into a LAN cafe if there's really no competition? Right? There's no reason to do it if you're just kind of marketing your place towards people that just want to play on computers and don't own one or whatever, right? There's like no point in investing money, I guess, into that kind of scenario, just because of the fact that there's no competition. You kind of have a monopoly on the whole thing. And like Anthony said, they didn't even get enough revenue just to keep their place running, right? They didn't even get enough revenue to make sure their company was staying afloat. And it just doesn't seem like it's that good or that viable of an idea, just because they're not really that utilized, right? They're underutilized. And that's kind of the reason we don't have them in America, I guess, which, listen, I'm all for having more of them, right? I'm having for more land. I would like to go to one. But obviously right now, especially right now during COVID, like, you think anybody's hosting or running a fucking successful LAN cafe? Do you think anybody's actually running?
Yeah.
No.
I sure hope not.
Yeah. No, especially not now, especially not in this era. Okay, not during the pandemic. But speaking about the pandemic and how it affects teams and how it affects pro teams, guys, Cloud9 has recently, just today, or Woxic, I guess, has left Cloud9, boys. They literally have just left Woxic has left Cloud9. Cloud9 has released him off the roster after literally spending hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars on this roster. Cloud9 has just released Woxic from their roster just because of the fact that he has ping issues, and according to some rumors, he's a little bit toxic. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Woxic's still young. He's a young, talented opera with very high sense. I've been a big fan of him in Counter-Strike. He's done really well as well. But, like, come on, man. You literally just put this roster together not even a couple months ago, and you're already releasing one of your top players. You already released your coach. Like, what the fuck, man? What's going on with your goddamn roster, Henry G? You were hyping up this roster for literally months on end. Cloud9 was hyped up for months and months and months on end just to just shit the bed and be a mediocre team and have so many internal issues that they didn't even figure out. Why would you fucking hype up a team before you even know the power dynamics, even the whole dynamics of that team, bro? What's the whole purpose besides to put on a fucking show as a general manager? Okay? Henry G is the guy that's hyped this up for the past years. The former commentator, former caster in the Counter-Strike scene, pretty much still casts and stuff like that. I think his casts are phenomenal. He's a great guy. He has a lot of great casts. But at the same time, he literally just hyped up this Counter-Strike roster for the better part of a whole fucking month. Just hyping it up, spending millions of dollars, bragging about how they spent millions of dollars basically on this roster and how amazing it was going to be. They were going off and off and off, and it's literally not even, I think, barely top 20 team in HLTV, if even. We would need to fact check that a little bit here, but at the same time, it's like this roster has been nothing but mediocre for how much hype it's had. And I think Cloud9 has talked about in the past, and Jack has talked about in the past, of kind of not investing in Counter-Strike because it costs so much. You saw, for this mediocre roster in Counter-Strike, it's costed them millions and millions of dollars, and it's not even that good of a team. Like, it's just costed them so much money to not even have results or anywhere really to get their sponsorship opportunities out there. I mean, Cloud9 was one of the premier elite teams in Counter-Strike, then kind of fell off over time, slowly, and then now they're kind of spiking back up, spending a lot of money, and it's just kind of gone downhill again. It's like this roster has fallen from grace. Cloud9, as an organization, has fallen from grace. It's not like they've really done that great of a job in most esports as well. The only one people would say that Cloud9 has done well in terms of their overall organization since even fucking 2015 or 20, even back in the day, pretty much at 2016, 27. I mean, they're major in 2018. Okay, since 20. They haven't really done shit, okay, in pretty much every esport. Fortnite, they have buddy. Counter-Strike, they're spending millions of dollars on nothing. It's like, what the fuck are they doing? They only did well in League of Legends. They only have spent a lot of money. They've only put the money in League of Legends, and even then, Cloud9 has always kind of been this kind of half-assed, shady, like, they're trying to get contract deals. They're trying to get good deals. And it seems like, for the most part, Cloud9 as an organization is kind of falling. But at the same time, their brain still does well, I guess. Like, do they even need that competitive a roster? I mean, Cloud9 as a whole, we don't know the exact financials behind the scenes, but Cloud9 as a whole is still one of the most profitable organizations, even if they haven't been winning as much recently. It seems like, to me at least, in my experience with watching Counter-Strike, with being a big fan of Counter-Strike and in other of Cloud9's teams, they've always been like the top tier org, and people have been wanting to play for them for cheaper, pretty much. They've wanted to pay. They wanted to play for cheaper money. They wanted to get cheaper salaries and stuff like that. And that's kind of the whole ideology behind Cloud9 is that people will play for them just because they're a premier team. And it's kind of like TSM has kind of been in that same boat too, except TSM I don't think, cuts people off as fast and whatever. Like I think Calvin's still sponsored by TSM, although I don't know how true that is. I think they're a little bit higher of an organization for that, but Cloud9 will entirely use their advantage in every situation possible. Jack has fucking the balls of a goddamn beast. This guy does not give a shit about anybody, pretty much, it seems, besides the bottom dollar. And it kind of feels like Cloud9's organization is becoming more and more in that line, in that degree, where they're pretty much just paying the bottom dollar. They're not even giving a shit who you are, and they'll release you on any sort of if the game is not doing too well, if you're not doing too well, they'll release you as soon as possible. And it seems like as an organization, they've been less and less forgiving and less good as a whole over the course of their life. And that's kind of shitty to see. It's kind of sad because as an esports veteran, as somebody that watches, has watched esports for pretty much 10 years now straight, it's kind of sad to see because Cloud9 is one of the OGs. It's one of the original, and it's still one of the most popular organizations. And yet they still manage to fuck up their goddamn Overwatch League roster. They still manage to fuck up so much shit. They had the best Overwatch League team. They literally won Overwatch League Season 1, and they just exploded it all and went full budget the next year. Then the next year after that, they go budget again, but this time it's Western, so it's a little bit more marketable. It's like, what the fuck is Cloud9 doing, bro? I could go on a Cloud9 rant for literally an hour straight because this organization has fucked up to a massive degree, and it feels like Jack is the head of it. Jack is the head of it for his bottom dollar. He seems like he's a lifeless individual who doesn't give a shit about anybody here, and where he's just going to offer whatever amount of money, whatever little amount of money to somebody without having any repercussions. Like, why? When is Cloud9 going to be punished? When are people going to stop being fans of Cloud9 when they fucking keep pulling shit like this where they just have crappy rosters and kind of keep de-investing money, basically? Like, when are people going to give Cloud9 the treatment of somebody else? When is Cloud9 not going to be seen as a tier 1 org anymore? Now, I don't really know. Like, when are players going to stop seeing that? I think overall, like, players have been looking at Cloud9, like I said, as this premier organization. But it's probably about time. I think everybody can tell from the Fortnite scene, from the Overwatch scene, from Counter-Strike scene. People can tell from a mile away. This organization is not a premier org anymore. Don't fucking play for them because guess what? They're going to fucking rip you off. They're going to absolutely rip you off. They're not going to give a shit about you. They only care about their bottom dollar. And I think in esports, I guess that matters. We talked about how esports as a whole is becoming less and less profitable, and it's not really worth investing into. But at the same time, Cloud9 is one of those orgs where they're actually profitable. They're actually making money. So is Cloud9 in the wrong here for what they've done in the past? And we've talked about Woxa being released for Cloud9 and the Colossus, like somebody mentioned in the chat before, being a big organization and being something that's going to be insane. It's just not. Cloud9 is not anymore. And when are they going to get punished for this, guys? I mean, are they still a tier 1 org? In my opinion, no.
Well, in this case, it doesn't seem like it was like anyone could foresee this because is it really just because of the ping issues?
So from behind the scenes, from our research staff, I'm not going to call them out entirely, but at the same time, we pretty much mentioned that how it's ping and visa issues, like you said, Max, but it's also apparently, according to rumors, he's a little bit toxic.
I mean,
Woxic is toxic.
If it's just ping issues, then I guess put him just in like a inactive roster and just wait it out until we can have lands again.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have been better. And
bench him.
He's pretty good, right? Like he's.
Oh man.
They could have just kept him on his roster and not let him be a free agent for a while.
I
guess
you're really digging
have
into
to
this,
pay
Max.
his salary, but I don't know. Sounds like they
I think
pulled the plug too early.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's only been a few months, and yeah, you're right. They're pulling the plug based purely from what they've said on the visa. But from what you said, it's like definitely kind of obvious. This is putting words in the Cloud9's mouth, I guess. But this is like some investigative journalism, Max. I mean, we're basically deducing this down to the fact that there's more to behind the scenes. There's not just this organization has been removing him just because of ping. It's like, no, is he toxic? Is that why he's removed? Is Woxic toxic? It seems like that's the case, right?
I mean,
It seems like it has to be.
It could just be that Cloud9's just really short-sighted, like you've been saying, and they just want results right now. But it could just
Yeah.
be that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
you just
I mean,
pissed off the organization too much.
No, I mean, listen, we are trashing on Cloud9 quite a bit, but let's be real. Okay, at least from my perspective, I've been a massive NA and Cloud9 fan for fucking years now. Okay, I'm coming from a passionate fan's perspective where this organization is seemingly using this degree, using their platform, using their organization being so big to kind of influence people into taking less money, influence, players into taking less money and stuff like that, and they're kind of using it to their advantage. And to me, I'm just kind of upset at that, right? And I think we can all agree that this is not exactly how you want to how you build a competitive roster, is by just spending less money, right? That's not exactly how you build a competitive roster. Sometimes you have to splurge, like you have to be a FaZe Clan and just throw out money. I think that's, FaZe Clan can be said as an organization that's done a lot of wrong. I totally get that. They've done a lot of wrong. They have a lot of controversial figures, okay? But at the same time, they don't goddamn slack when it comes to spending money. This organization don't fucking slack, okay? They spend big dollars on Counter-Strike, on Fortnite, on pretty much every situation possible. I guess maybe not the Tifu situation. That's a little bit different. I don't think you can critique them that much because FaZe Clan will always spend a solid amount of money. Even in the Valorant scene, I've heard the FaZe Clan team does spend a decent amount of money on their FaZe Clan team, on their team in Valorant. They're spending good money. A player in Overwatch would actually be making less money on average than a player in Valorant right now, just based on the fact that, players are being looked at as such high important prospects almost to the future of the scene. And it seems like it's interesting because Valorant as a whole isn't necessarily as big as like Overwatch is right now or whatever in terms of esports size, yet they're still being paid. Valorant players are still getting paid more than Overwatch League players, and especially I think FaZe Clan is just one of those organizations that's never going to skimp. They're always going to put in the right amount of money, and they're always going to kind of succeed. And that's why I'm more of a FaZe fan now than I am a C9 fan. It's just like C9 has not done that good of a job. And like Max said, either they're short-sighted or they're kind of mismanaging the roster. And that's kind of how it's been. It's like Henry G, the GM. I'm going to go back to Henry G a little bit here. Now, I know he's not entirely in charge of Cloud9 as a whole. I totally get that. He's just in charge of the Cloud9 roster. But their general manager has pretty much used this Cloud9 roster's announcement as a way to kind of hype up a team, to hype up to get a bunch of publicity on his team, basically, where it's kind of worked against him. Like, you should be focusing on winning. You shouldn't be focusing on marketing your team, right? Especially if your team is going to be bad. Like, why focus on marketing your team rather than, winning? It just feels like a kind of situation. I was basically a former caster and has tried to translate some of the Chael Sonnen, like, fucking overhype, personality aspect to bring a general manager. And it just feels like that's not really a good idea. And he's kind of fucked his roster over in that degree. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I agree with Max that Woxic is kind of this whole scenario is a little bit strange, right? It's a little bit odd. But speaking about odd scenarios, guys, we're going to move on to Overwatch, okay? This is a little bit of a controversial topic. We're going to go over. There's a few topics, actually, I would like to go over here before we... I guess not before we go into it. We're going to talk about it here, okay? Ryu Ji-hung is being deplatformed for apparently being misogynistic. And Who Are You and Bedosin also retire. So we're going to talk about the Overwatch scene for a little bit longer here. Okay, we're going to talk about it to where let's save the best for last for a lot of our Overwatch viewers. There's basically rough translations from Jae-hung's stream that kind of paint him in a picture of being misogynistic, of being kind of an asshole towards women. And people are up in arms. People are very pissed off about this, and I totally understand. I totally get this. Okay, listen. This man, as a whole, has been somebody people look up to for years and years and years. People see Ryu Ji-hung as one of those people that have kind of been a prominent star figure of the scene. And to be honest with you, I mean, listen, I understand why people are upset. But at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I can't be the only one in this boat. I don't think it's a good idea to immediately jump onto people's cases instead of looking at the overall situation, you know what I'm saying? Instead of looking at the whole situation as a whole before you start going in and critiquing things, before you start immediately on canceling and deplatforming and stuff like that. I think it's a good idea to kind of take your time, understand, look at the situation as a whole. And now I'm not talking about just about the situation, okay? I'm talking about as a whole. And when you're looking at people being deplatformed, people being removed, people being hated on and stuff like that in the situation, okay, I think it's worth it. Okay, just hear me out here. I think it's worth it to just take your time and look at all the facts and, overview the situation, let all the responses come out, let whatever you want, maybe make an assumption based on, maybe don't make assumptions, okay? Maybe look at the situation before all the or after all the facts are out, maybe before everybody's, personal bias are out the way, and instead just looking at the facts and then judging people based on that. I think that's probably the best situation possible that we can start working towards as a society, as a social media platform. I think it's a good idea. Now, I don't even think this is really that hot of a take. But it's like in the current situation, in the current era, it feels like this is a hot take when it probably shouldn't be, right? It probably shouldn't be a hot take to tell people to look at the overall situation. Am I wrong in this? Am I wrong in waiting for the facts to come out, waiting for everything to kind of come out, and besides personal biases? Am I wrong in this, Anthony Max? Am I wrong? Am I just being an idiot?
This is just what people want these days. They just want they just want to see that stuff come out.
I think I saw a recent thing that I don't remember exactly. I might have seen this on Joe Rogan. Okay, we're gonna talk about Joe Rogan just a little. I might have seen this on Joe Rogan. They mentioned how in the modern era, because there's no wars going on, because there's no conflict, like there's no major conflict for humans to be. There's no strife. There's no actual major strife. Like we're in a first world country. Okay, we're over here eating fucking McDonald's whenever we want, having food delivered to us and packaged and whatever, whenever we fucking want it. It's cheap. It's not like it's overly priced. It's like a lot of the situation is kind of hand-fed to us. You know what I'm saying? As humans right now, everything's kind of being hand-fed to us. And it's like the article I read, or the people that talked about this, said it's by like human nature to kind of want conflict, to be involved. You know what I'm saying? Like they want things to be upset about. And listen, totally I understand a lot of situations people can be deplatformed. I think it can be utilized in a good way. You know what I'm saying? I'm totally agree it could be utilized in a way. But I think over time we need to be kind of more cognizant of the fact that people are just not as they're kind of just, there's nothing to be mad about these days. You know what I'm saying? There's no legitimate strife to be upset about right now. It's just kind of like the situation. There's nothing to be mad about. I mean, this COVID, the pandemic's happening. We're stuck inside. We still have food coming to us. We're still in a decent spot. Okay, I mean, a lot of us aren't. I understand it's a hard time for a lot of people that aren't. But the people that are also kind of just looking for things to be upset about at the same time. Okay, and that's kind of the dynamic that's happening right now. People are going out of their way to kind of go from each situation in a very aggressive manner without necessarily taking the time to look at all the facts before things come out. And I mean, to be fair, this Jae Hung situation, the more looks at it, speaking about taking our time to look at the facts, instead of myself raging out immediately at Jae Hung, okay, instead of looking out immediately at the situation, I think at this time, a lot of the facts are starting to come out, and it's painting a bigger picture, but you need to wait till 100% it's done. I think 80-90% of the picture is fully painted, probably 90% more like, and I think my opinion on this is yes, I think Jae Hung in this situation is in the wrong, and I think that he's been in a situation where he doesn't really understand. He's kind of older, he doesn't represent a team, so in this regard, he's like being kind of an asshole, to be honest with you. He's just kind of been like, he made an apology that really wasn't an apology. He pretty much said, now people are still upset about, very, very upset at that, and obviously, but at the same time, it's like, he pretty much said, he's like, I'm sorry you got offended. It's basically what he said. And now we've seen this response before, and I don't think it's necessarily a good response for sure. But at the same time, I think when we look at apologies and stuff like that, we haven't seen a successful apology. Like, let's be real, guys. We haven't seen a successful apology yet from pretty much anything in esports or social media as a whole. Like, nobody's had an apology that got a good reaction. I don't think we've seen that yet. I mean, I guess that's not the point of an apology. The point of an apology is to show that you're going to get better and improve. Like, I totally get that or whatever. But like, we haven't seen a good response to any apology yet, I think. Maybe like one or two, but the mass majority of them, right?
No, yeah, I don't think there's been any. Maybe that's why Dream never apologized.
Maybe it's why. Yeah, he just kept rebuttaling. Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you fucking do, bro. Hey, listen, anybody being deplatformed out there right now, okay, go and fucking fight. Go and be an asshole, because you already painted as an asshole. You're not going to fix it by apologizing. You're already a fucking dickbag fucking motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Just at this point, you know, don't even apologize. Pull a Dream. You know what I'm saying? You did nothing wrong. You know what I mean? You were right in this situation, Dream. No, he was absolutely
just get some random Harvard professor to claim your theories right.
Yeah, Jae Hung needs to hire a PhD fucking Harvard professor or from the best college out of Korea or whatever to just defend him in this situation and be like, yes, I was right. Technically, from a statistical standpoint, blah, 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 blah. If he was going at like stats and stuff like that, people would still not understand and still hate him. But he probably would get more people on his side than just writing a shitty half-assed apology like he did, okay? I think the picture is painted here, okay? And I think that we can kind of close the book nearly. Okay, we waited for the facts. We waited for most things. But, like, the translations were rough. A lot of people had personal bias going into this. And I think, as a whole, it's resulted in a mixed situation. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of...
Where's his agent during all this?
Yeah, I don't think he has one anymore. I think that's the thing, is that he's...
Well, like, where's Gen G? What do they think about it?
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. People are adding Gen G on Twitter, telling them, like, are you going to put up with this? Pretty much. They're tweeting at Gen G, like, remove him from your team, pretty much. Like I said, he's being deplatformed, basically.
Fair enough. I think it was pretty interesting on the rough translation of his apology that he brings up how, like, this is, like, the new me, the streamer Jae Hong. And then, like, I guess before you were looking at the esports Jae Hong. Like, do you see, like, different personalities of, like, when they're playing versus they're streaming?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of players and you know, whoever else are kind of scared to be themselves. And now listen, that's not necessarily a bad or a good thing. Okay, I think being scared to be yourself is not a good thing. Okay, I don't think it's a good thing. I should actually outright say that. I don't think that people should be scared to be themselves. Now, that doesn't give people an excuse to be assholes, okay? That I'm going to be, like, I have to be 100% real. That doesn't give people excuses to be assholes and just to be, you know, misogynistic or whatever. You know, that doesn't give people excuses to be like Jae-Hung, okay? But if that's who he is, that's who he is. And if he's an asshole, that should be deplatformed. He's an asshole, that should be deplatformed, okay? I totally get that. But at the same time, that shouldn't, because this happens, that shouldn't be, you know, little Jimmy that's turning 18, that's coming into the Overwatch League. He shouldn't be afraid to be himself. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't be afraid to be himself, because guess what? Little Jimmy's probably not an asshole. Little Jimmy's probably just another fucking kid trying to go pro in a game. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't be seen as this person that's an asshole, and he shouldn't be seen as somebody that should be ridiculed because of this. And I think the whole situation online is you want to be this personality, and you want to be able to hide behind something because of the fact that maybe you're a shitty person. You know what I mean? Maybe you're a person that's, you know, scared to talk or whatever. You know, there's a lot of different, like, maybe people are just not very social, and it's kind of harder to be themselves. And in this situation, I think that it more and more adds on to it behind the scenes, at least in the Overwatch scene, where people get offended very, very easy. I recently ranted for fun, to be honest with you. I ranted for fun. That was entirely fun rant. That was entirely off the top of my head because I'm a fucking dumbass and people call me stupid, and I totally get that. But at the same time, people were saying that it was dumb and whatever for me to rant about Overwatch players. And now this was just off the top of my head, me being me and just having a good time, right? Just making the controversial video, whatever. But people were very, very upset, very, very offended. Tank players very offended. Now I'm talking about a fucking video game, boys. I'm talking about a goddamn video game. You're playing a damn a game where tanks shouldn't even be the focal point in the first place. But on top of that, you're so invested in your role, you're so invested in being a tank player that you're incredibly upset about my take. You're incredibly tilted about my take, and I totally get that. Listen, I totally understand. But at the same time, you're kind of you should look at yourself in the mirror and be like, maybe I care about this video game too much. Maybe I care about Overwatch too much, and instead I should focus on other things in my life. I should focus on more positive things instead of focusing on the negativity. Maybe I should go focus on looking at another video game or browsing YouTube or whatever, or watching Twitch or watching me on YouTube, Dusttin Bowerman, the Dusttin Bowerman Show, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you should do more positive things with your life instead of being upset at things. And the Overwatch community as a whole has been one that has constantly just been upset about things, okay? That's just how it is. The Overwatch community has always been tilted, always been upset, and they're always looking for things to go after, and that's just kind of how it is. That's kind of how it is as a whole, and that's kind of how Overwatch has been, and there's no real way to change it. It's just the community we're in, and a lot of the pro players kind of understand that. A lot of pro players know they kind of have to hide and kind of not really invest themselves into the scene because there's the chance that people have been... You know, there's a chance that some of your opinions are opinions that people don't agree with. There's a chance that your opinions are takes that according to most people are hot takes. You know what I'm saying? And there's a chance that happens, and most people don't want to risk that. And I talked about this with the All-Star players before we went into an Overwatch League match, the All-Star match before we were talking about in the Discord or in a TeamSpeak. We were like, yeah, generally the Overwatch community and the Overwatch, people invested in Overwatch are kind of people you don't really want to interact with. You know what I'm saying? They're generally people that you don't want to express opinions towards, express any different opinions, because for the most part, if you express anything different at all, the Overwatch community will absolutely fucking hate your ass, and they will be on you for the rest of your fucking life. So it's like, at this point, you should just kind of be reserved and be your inner person. And it's tough to expand out almost, you know what I mean? It's tough to kind of be your own person in esports as a whole. And now, this isn't trying, I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending Jae-Hung. I hope people don't get this fucking mixed up, because for some reason it probably will get mixed up, as everything on the fucking internet is. People are going to take this as me defending Jae-Hung. I'm not. I want to just make that clear. I'm not. I'm just saying that things like this happen that influence people that are, you know, actually not bad people, to just not actually be themselves on the internet. And that's why you see a more dry personality base in the Overwatch scene. That's why you see so few people kind of express their opinions, is because the Overwatch scene is not one that is accepting to people that have different opinions. You know what I'm saying? And I think overall, it's not a healthy scene to be a part of as a player. Which I don't want to say that's reasons why people like Who Are You and Vidocin have just recently retired, but there's kind of a lot of things that add up, a lot of different situations that add up that allow people kind of move on, to try to move on. Like even our show, like is this the right time to retire? Who knows when the fucking right time is to retire? But let's be real, guys. I don't want to say Overwatch is necessarily a sinking ship, but at the same time, Overwatch is not necessarily a game that's had updates for the past couple years. Overwatch 2 looks exactly like Overwatch 1. There's a few things with Overwatch that are not necessarily ideal, and I think it's about the right time for people like Who Are You to retire, Vidocin to retire, people to kind of get out of the scene and create their own image, create their own thing on the side. And I think maybe right now is the best time to leave, just because if you don't like the scene, if you don't like the people involved, and this is to kind of go back onto it, then fucking leave. You know what I'm saying? Then goddamn leave. And at this point, that's kind of what I've tried to do, is kind of not distance myself from the Overwatch scene, but kind of move away from it, just because of the fact that Overwatch as a whole is not necessarily something that's an environment I personally enjoy. I've been liking the Fortnite scene, you know, the Call of Duty scene, the Counter-Strike scene. A lot of these other scenes have kind of a different perspective and a different outlook on esports and gaming, which kind of make for a more interesting scenario, just because of the fact that Fortnite's so new, so many young people are involved that don't really have much experience in esports, and it's kind of allowing a scenario that is a lot more interesting to me personally. And I think right now is probably the best time to retire for Who Are You, for Vidocin. Obviously not for Jae-Hung. Jae-Hung kind of fucked himself here, to be honest, just by being himself. And that's just how people are. Some people are just murderers, you know what I mean? Some people are just murderer assholes and have killed people. And some people haven't, you know what I mean? Like us. Anthony, have you killed anybody? I mean, have you killed anybody, Anthony?
Don't tell him.
Anthony, what happened to to Jose in middle school? What happened to I remember you went out with him to McDonald's one day, and then we didn't see him again. What happened there? Can you explain what happened with Jose?
No.
No?
Wait, can you go back? Did you just call him Joe's?
No. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's next topic here, guys. Joe Rogan. Speaking about Joe's, okay, Joe Rogan
You're a real dingus.
Okay, that was just my take. Okay, listen, just give me a break here. I may be a dingus, but at least I have opinions, you know, unlike most of the people in the scene. Joe Rogan, though, speaking of a guy that has opinions, Joe Rogan, has not recently, but in 2018 made a comment on gaming. I haven't seen anybody make a response to this. It's kind of weird. Joe Rogan is a guy that I used to watch his podcast quite religiously. I don't as much anymore, just because I kind of don't like him anymore, to be honest, as a personal preference. I think there's a lot of things that has gone wrong with Joe Rogan that I personally am not a big fan of. But recently, in 2018, I keep saying recently. In 2018, Joe Rogan had a guest on. I don't exactly know his name. He had red facial hair, red hair, pale face. Now, if somebody could tell me who this guy was, I'd appreciate it. But basically, because there was a clip from 2018. It was about an 8-minute clip. And I tried to go back to the original podcast, the original show, and it was privated. It was not listed up on a show. Maybe I could find it in the future. Maybe somebody would help me out and tell me who that was. But he basically said, gamers don't have to do anything but twiddle their thumbs and not do anything physical. He pretty much said, he's like, all you have to do is this. And you make millions of dollars. It's like, he was just pretty much talking about Fortnite players and stuff like that are, he's just being an out-of-touch boomer. He pretty much was being an out-of-touch boomer. And no, I don't really think we could judge him too harshly on this. I don't think we should judge an old man too harshly on this because he doesn't know gaming. I mean, let's be real. There's not really any need to. But because I was going to the comment section of this video, I was going to the comment section of Joe Rogan and his guests talking about why gamers are useless sacks of shit that live with their parents and don't actually do anything for their, for life or whatever. They're pretty much not like baby kids. They're like grown kids, basically. They're just giant kids is basically what he said. And the comment section was a fucking war, bro. It was a goddamn war of people getting upset at Joe Rogan, people getting upset at the guest for being too try-hardy and stuff like that. It was kind of interesting to see because of the fact that I watched this clip years ago, but nobody's ever made a comment on it. And he's even had guests on his show like Jordan Nothing Gilbert, a Counter-Strike player for Cloud9, speaking of which we talked about Cloud9 earlier. He had Jordan on his podcast and basically talked for hours, and he actually listened to him. But since Nothing has been on the show, Joe Rogan hasn't actually interviewed any gamers. And it's kind of interesting because of the fact that people have wanted gamers to come on his show. People have wanted people to come explain their point of view, maybe rebuttal Joe Rogan's opinions on gamers, but I don't think he's willing to do that. And it's kind of interesting because, to be honest with you, Joe Rogan he said like pretty much gaming is an unhealthy lifestyle is pretty much what he said. He's like gaming is an unhealthy lifestyle that really just attributes to people living in their mother's basements in their mother's house and kind of just contributing nothing to society is basically what he said. And he's kind of endorsed other methods that are also useless to gaming. I mean, to society as a whole. Like, let's be real. Is endorsing fucking DMT, is endorsing goddamn mushrooms and shit, is that really going to help the society as a whole better themselves and become, more beneficial to society as a whole? I don't really think so. Like, let's be real. Is it comparable? Would you say, Max or Anthony, would you say that mushrooms / DMT is as bad or is better to do than gaming or just playing video games at a professional level or attempting to?
It's kind of weird to equivalent that because, some drugs, they have like long-lasting effects to you, but I guess gaming does too if you have an addiction. I don't know. I guess they're just ways to do your.
Do you think gaming addiction's real?
Do
you think gaming addiction's real? I remember we talked about it with Jacob Wolf the other day.
It's like if you can't like let it go and you just gotta keep doing it, like especially if you do, I don't know, if you're addicted to MMOs and things like that, and that's your whole life, then there's definitely a case of that. It's probably not as severe as like, I don't know, like the boomer point of view of it, but.
You wait, Dustin. I'm gonna do DMT, shrooms, and play video games all at once.
Oh my god, dude! No, please don't, please don't. I legitimately think that Joe Rogan might be a danger onto like society, dude, because he's so big, his platform's so big that not the guests he has on, I'm totally fine with that, but like some of the ideals he says, he's like, yeah, you should just he's like, go out and do DMT, go out and do mushrooms. Like, it's like, bro, you shouldn't, like, a lot of Joe Rogan's viewer base are fucking, like, to be honest, kids. Like, a lot of them are kids. Now, you're telling these 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids to go out and do DMT and mushrooms before their brains even develop. Is that even a good decision? Is that even a good decision to... I mean, I guess he doesn't really understand his platform, maybe. Like, he doesn't understand his viewer base. And I feel like a lot of his viewers are young people that don't really have a good understanding or kind of gullible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, is that on Joe Rogan? Is that on Joe Rogan that he doesn't know his platform? Or?
Even if that's the case, what's the harm to him?
What's I mean, there is no harm to him. You're right. Yeah,
so what does it matter for him?
It doesn't. Yeah, if he gets a few people killed off of DMT or fucking mushrooms, why does he care, right? Or their brains even fucked up, permanently or whatever. Whatever, man. I don't know.
In the video, he even says that he used to play Quake a lot. Apparently, he's spending like a lot of his 20s playing Quake. He knows at least a bit about gaming, at least in the early days, and even competitive gaming. And I think later on, he had a guest where I think it was the lead developer of Quake came on, really? And they talked about esports and stuff, and he was just amazed about how much money and people are in esports and things like that. So I think now he knows about like the gaming culture, or at least the esports culture.
Yeah, it seems like people are kind of quick to hate on old ideologies instead of helping them kind of transition. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that people are looking at old ideologies like Joe Rogan or like older people that look at esports. Like, I think the best way to describe it is like I was in Overwatch League invited me out to a giant media press room basically in like this bank vault in Philadelphia before one of our events because they thought I was decent at speaking or whatever. And myself, Corey, and then I think we had one more person. I don't remember who the one more person was. We had 3 of us, though. There was like 3 Overwatch League pros with like famous news articles and stuff like that. Like people, like 50 people in a room that like write for traditional sports and stuff like that. And like Clinton Yates and stuff like that. Great guy. Maybe we'll have him on the show in the future. He's an awesome dude. Baseball fan and big news guy as well. Sports news guy. But basically we were in there and I was like, we had to, most of the audience was older. Most of the audience was older individuals that don't understand video games, that think video games is for people that aren't going to do anything in their life, that are wasting their lives away just playing video games, watching YouTube or whatever. And that's the kind of the same, that's the view, that's their view on it. That's how it is. So I think the best way to change their view or to even counter, like just have a counter argument with them or whatever, is to actually speak, is to actually have an intelligent conversation with people that have a different view than you, that have a different view. And especially you have to understand your audience is that some of these people are older, are in their 50s, 60s, 70s or whatever, and writing articles for traditional sports. So the way I look at it is like you have to like simplify it, right? You have to make it easy to explain. You're like, yeah, you're making millions of dollars playing this game. You all you have to, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort like anything else in life. And that's the kind of thing that you have to attribute to. It's like people that work hard in gaming are just as hard workers as people that work hard in traditional fields like finance, like business or whatever else you want to say. That people that work harder in those fields are pretty much equivalent on equivalent grounds. And that's the kind of grounds that you have to go about when explaining to older people. And I think if somebody could get that across to Joe Rogan, if somebody could explain to Joe Rogan why gaming is impactful in society and why it's such a big deal and why it's such a positive influence on society, then maybe he would change his opinions. But people are just so quick to kind of, like we mentioned with Ryu Jihung and with the platforming people are so quick to assume and to kind of not have a good argument, have a good base to debate. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just kind of, I don't know. People are too quick to jump onto things and kind of be negative Nancy's. You know what I'm saying? You need to have a good, intelligent conversation.
That's true for you too. You jumped on Joe Rogan too fast.
No, dude, fuck that. I watch so much Joe Rogan podcast. Hey, fuck Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's a little bitch. Fuck you, Joe Rogan.
He came around and said that esports is great.
Listen, maybe in the future, okay, he did jump around. He did say esports is great. Listen, I mean, there's a couple situations where I did kind of put him in the bad light here. Okay, you can't deny that. But at the same time, like, I don't think that we should entirely say Joe Rogan's out of the clear here because, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about in the future why I don't like Joe Rogan. Maybe we'll talk about in the future.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I like him and don't like him at the same time. It's like on neutral battlegrounds. You know what I'm saying? But this was a fun show, guys. This was an interesting show. We had no guests today. Unfortunately, maybe we'll get Baby Bay on the future, but Baby Bay, the FaZe Clan member, my former teammate in the Overwatch League, was supposed to come on today, but unfortunately because of his move and because of his team practice and stuff like that, we're going to have him on a later date. But tomorrow we'll have leg day on. We'll announce that later tonight, so be excited for that. Then Wednesday, we're going to have a BZ. Thursday's supposed to be Super. Thursday's supposed to be Matthew DeLisi, but he hasn't gotten me back. He's been ghosting me like an asshole. So hopefully we get him on the show on Thursday. He said yes in the previous week. I think it's going to happen. I hope it happens. If you're watching right now, please tweet at Matthew DeLisi to fucking get back to me in my DMs because this man needs to come on the show Thursday. We're going to give him a good hype-up speech. It's going to be awesome. But thanks for coming on the show, guys. Maybe we'll do this giant pack of warheads. I also have the toxic waste shit, so maybe we'll eat all this sour candy. We also have the Japanese candy that we'll eat later. But this has been a fun show, guys. This has been a fun Monday. Maybe we'll talk more tomorrow about some other shit that happens. Maybe people will be upset and respond to this right now, today. Thanks for coming on, Max and Anthony. Thanks for chilling with me today, boys. Happy Monday. Happy Manic Monday, gentlemen. Thank you to Rin and Tolberto and Samantha in the background for helping out with the show. They're awesome. They're sick individuals. This has been the Dusttin Bowerman Show. We're terrible, and it's awful. And this is a bombshell. What other fucking famous tweets and things can I say? You know what I mean? What's another ending? What's a famous show ending that you can think of? Well, that we can end it off on.
I've got nothing.
What? Fucking assholes. God damn it, I hate I hate Max and Anthony so much.
God.
See you later, boys.
Why you have to be
Adios.
so toxic every day, man?
Hey, man, that's just who I am, bro. Listen,
So
I'm going to
what
be...
game are we gonna play on mushrooms?
Hey Max, you see that student not covering mask or nose with mask get disqualified at university exams in Japan?